Good evening, brave souls, and welcome to Friday Night Frights. I am your guide, Night Angel, and tonight we delve into the darkest alleys of history. Cast your mind back to London, 1888. A city swathed in fog and shadow, where gas lamps flicker like weak spirits against the encroaching dark. It's an autumn that will be etched into the annals of horror, for it's the season of the Ripper. Here, in the East End's Whitechapel district, fear clings to the chill air. It's a time of poverty and toil, where the difference between survival and the abyss is as thin as a razor's edge. But now a new terror walks these streets, leaving a trail of unspeakable horror that the morning light cannot erase. Murders most foul, acts that chill the blood and confound the mind. As we peel back the layers of this ghastly narrative, ask yourself, do you dare follow where the shadows lead? For in the tale of the Shadow Guild, not all monsters lurk in the open. Some wear the guise of men, and their whispers are as deadly as their deeds. Let us tread softly into this nightmarish reverie. Whitechapel, London, a district cloaked in shadows, where every alleyway whispers secrets of the unspeakable. It's here, amidst the choking fog, that a grim tableau unfolds yet again on this autumn night. In the hush before dawn, where the gaslights flicker like the last breaths of day, a body lies still. A woman, her life extinguished with a brutality that echoes through the cobblestone arteries of this old city. Another soul claimed by an unseen specter, another question left screaming into the void. Inspector Aberline arrives, his silhouette cutting through the fog, a beacon of justice in a sea of despair. His eyes, weary from sleepless nights, reflect a determination that not even this city's darkness can dim. Inspector Aberline. The same pattern. He's not even trying to hide it anymore. The cuts, precise. The same savagery. Constables move through the shadows, their lanterns casting a grim light upon the scene. Whitechapel, a name now synonymous with death, trembles beneath the weight of fear. Medical examiner. It's him, Inspector. The same mutilations. He's toying with us. A murmured prayer escapes the lips of a watchful matron, a futile shield against the darkness. As the medical examiner covers the body, a bitter truth settles over the scene. Jack the Ripper has claimed another victim. Inspector Aberline stands over the body, his mind a maelstrom of logic and fury. How many more must suffer before the Ripper is unmasked? Inspector Aberline. This ends now. Increase the patrols, double them. We must be the shadow that he fears. The streets of Whitechapel have become all too familiar with the sirens of sorrow. Each corner whispers tales of terror. Each doorway holds the ghosts of the untold. On this night, another page is added to the chronicle of horror that plagues this district. Inspector Aberline crouches by the victim, a lone sentinel amidst a sea of despair. The dim light reveals the harsh lines of determination etched into his face, the grim set of his mouth a testament to the fury within. Inspector Aberline, to a constable. Notes, Constable. We must document everything before the scene is compromised. Start with the position of the body. Constable Reeves, young and green, yet aged prematurely by the macabre nature of his duty, nods, his hand trembling slightly as he scribbles in his notebook. Constable Reeves. Yes, Inspector. Her hands, they're clasped together, as if in prayer. And there's a flower, a white chrysanthemum, placed on her chest. A silent prayer for the departed, or the Ripper's macabre signature? The inspector stands, a vengeful statue in the wash of gaslight, his mind racing with questions, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he is the keeper of this nightmarish reality. Inspector Aberlin, to the medical examiner. Time of death? The medical examiner, Dr. Llewellyn, a man who has seen too much, yet not enough to piece together this grisly puzzle, frowns as he examines the cooling flesh. Dr. Llewellyn. No more than 2 hours passed. She was alive when most of this deed was done. The Whitechapel night is thick with mourning. The air itself seems to grieve. With each victim, hope fades, and the specter of the Ripper grows, a shadow looming over London, insatiable and unyielding. Inspector Aberlin. This ends tonight. We canvass the area. No one sleeps. We shake down every establishment, every suspicious character. This fiend has breathed easy London air for far too long. And so, as the inspector rallies his men, the city holds its breath. The hunt is on, the stakes higher than ever. But in this game of cat and mouse, it is not just the hunter who must beware the cunning of the hunted. For in Whitechapel's murky depths, even the predator can become prey. Elsewhere in Whitechapel, away from the prying eyes of the law and decency, in a tavern soaked with the spilt ale and secrets, a figure cloaked in the anonymity of the crowd speaks with a venomous pride. They call him the charlatan, a braggart whose tongue wields tales as sharp as the Ripper's blade. His audience, a collection of the East End's lost and forsaken, hang on his every word, seeking a fragment of understanding in this maelstrom of fear. The charlatan. Yes, my friends, 'tis I who work alongside those who dare to cleanse this city. We are the unsung heroes, the Shadow Guild. A woman, her face hidden beneath a hood, eyes the charlatan. Is there truth in his words, or is this yet another facade in a city of masks? The charlatan. The streets run red to bring forth a purer era. We are the artists of this grand design. A chill runs through the tavern, felt in the hearts of all who listen. In Whitechapel, even the walls have ears, and tonight they've heard a confession. Or is it just another riddle, wrapped in the enigma of the East End? Beyond the blood-stained streets, within the dim confines of a tavern, lies a gathering shrouded in secrecy. Here, men of questionable repute whisper of things that chill the soul. In the corner of the room, cloaked in shadow, sits the figure known only as the charlatan. His eyes gleam with a dangerous knowledge as he addresses his clandestine audience. The charlatan. Gentlemen, the air outside is thick with the scent of fear. Can you smell it? It's intoxicating. Our friend out there, he's doing more than just spilling blood. He's awakening the city, stirring the pot. A man across the table, face obscured by the brim of his hat, leans in, his curiosity piqued by the charlatan's bold claims. Mysterious man. You speak as if you know the devil's mind. Tell us, charlatan, are you an accomplice to this monster, or just another charlatan with tales to tell? The charlatan smiles, a serpent bearing fangs, his delight in the unease. The charlatan. I am but a humble observer, dear sir. But what if I told you that our monster is not alone, that he is but one of many instruments of cleansing? A chill runs through the room, a shiver shared by all present. The notion of a single Ripper is a nightmare, but a collective, that is a terror beyond comprehension. A grizzled patron. Are you saying there's more than one? That it's not just some lone madman? The charlatan. Consider this, my scared friend. The streets of London are a stage. and the Ripper or Rippers mere players. They each have their exits and their entrances, and one man, in his time, plays many parts. The patrons exchange uneasy glances, the ale in their bellies no match for the ice in their veins. For if there is truth to the charlatan's words, then no one is safe, and chaos is but a blade's width away. The charlatan, a toast to the shadows. To the Rippers, may their work continue to enlighten and terrify. And may we all find our roles to play in this grand design. As the tavern door creaks closed, swallowed by the fog, the question remains, is the charlatan a prophet, a madman, or something far more sinister? One thing, however, is certain. The heart of London beats to a rhythm of dread, each thump a harbinger of horrors yet to come. Mary Ann, there's a chill in the air tonight, one that ain't from the autumn cold. It's in the way folks talk, eyes darting like they see ghosts in the corners. But it's not spirits that haunt us. It's something much, much worse. In the heart of Whitechapel, at the Crown Tavern, Mary Ann, a barmaid of no particular consequence, finds herself caught in a current of clandestine affairs. Mary Ann moves between the tables, her ears picking up fragments of hushed dialogue. The usual revelry seems tainted, laughter tinged with a nervous edge. In a corner draped in velvet and smoke, Mary Ann observes the gentlemen. They are of a different ilk than the common patrons, their hands soft, uncalloused by labor, their voices smooth, accustomed to command. Mary Ann moves away, her mind racing with the implications of their words. The air feels heavier, suffocating. Mary Ann. They speak of the murders like they're waiting for the next scene in a play. But this is no play. This is real, and it's horrible. Mary Ann's thoughts swirl as she navigates the tavern. She wonders if fear has made her suspicious, or if the whispers hold a sinister truth. After all, the Guild of Shadows is not a myth to those who've gazed upon its members. As she collects empty glasses, a scrap of paper falls from a patron's coat. Mary Ann discreetly retrieves it, her eyes scanning the cryptic note. Mary Ann. An address and a date. 2 days from now. Is this a meeting? A plan? In her trembling hands, Mary Ann holds what could be a piece of the puzzle or a ticket to her doom. For knowledge, they say, is power. But in Whitechapel's shadowed lanes, it can also be a curse. The night is deep, and the shadows are alive with whispers of the Shadow Guild. But one must wonder, in the play of predator and prey, what role will Mary Ann come to embody? A chilling wind blows, the sounds of a city asleep yet restlessly stirring in the undercurrents of fear and suspicion. In the heart of Victorian London, where the mist shrouds more than the dimly lit cobblestones, Mary Ann Nichols finds herself at the precipice of a harrowing discovery. With each step towards the towering facade of New Scotland Yard, her shadow flits and quivers, as if attempting to flee from the revelation it carries. Upon arrival, she is met by the imposing figure of Inspector Frederick Aberline. The weight of unspoken secrets hangs between them like the heavy London fog. Mary Ann. Inspector, I bear words that might illuminate the darkness of our current plight, yet with them comes a dread of what might unfold. The inspector, his face etched with lines of sleepless nights, motions to the privacy of his shadow-clad office. The door closes with a silence that speaks louder than words. Inspector Aberline. Speak freely, Mary Ann. These walls are no strangers to confessions of the gravest nature. Mary Ann's tale unfurls, a tapestry woven with the threads of overheard whispers and clandestine glances. She speaks of gentlemen in the grips of heated discussion, their words not those of mundane affairs, but of the ghastly work that has plagued Whitechapel. Mary Ann. Their talk wasn't of a solitary fiend, Inspector, but of a shadow guild. They speak as if our monster wears many faces, belonging not to a man, but to a league woven into society's very fabric. The ticking of the clock becomes more pronounced, the heartbeat of the hour growing in urgency. Inspector Aberline, his thoughts a turbulent sea, absorbs her every word. In the creases of a crumpled note handed over by trembling fingers, he sees the potential unraveling of a conspiracy so foul it threatens to eclipse the known evils of humankind. Inspector Aberline. Mary, this information is a lantern in the darkness. The ramifications are severe. We must tread carefully, for if what you say is true, we are not hunting a lone predator, but facing a pack disguised in sheep's clothing. Mary Ann, her resolve a flickering candle in the looming shadow of her fear, nods in solemn agreement. The atmosphere tenses, a sense of urgency in the air. As Mary Ann departs, leaving behind the shroud of her revelations, Inspector Aberline finds himself at a crossroads. Each path is fraught with peril, but one thing is certain. The hunt for the Ripper has become a hunt for a syndicate of darkness. London sleeps, unaware that its nightmares are about to take on a form more terrifying than any single creature of the night. For in the shadows, the Shadow Guild stirs, and its intentions are as sinister as the void from whence it came. The stage is set, the players revealed, and the next act of this macabre play awaits. For Mary Ann Nichols, the revelation is a burden she must carry. For Aberline, it is the clarion call to a battle that will determine the fate of London's soul. As the moon climbs to its zenith above the city, the gilded doors of a clandestine ballroom swing open to the privileged few. Within these walls, where opulence drips from every corner and shadows dance with the flicker of candlelight, the Shadow Guild convenes under the guise of festivity. Every face is veiled behind artfully crafted masks, each one an intricate lie, a facade that conceals the monstrous truth. The air is thick with perfume and power as they glide across the floor, specters of high society entwined in a waltz of deception. Amidst the throng, a figure detaches from the revelry, his mask an alabaster visage with a grin too cunning to be kind. He raises a crystal flute, catching the candlelight, and the room hushes to heed his toast. The charlatan, to the cause that binds us and the night that veils our noble deeds, to the hand that wields the scalpel and the shadow that swallows the scream. We are the unseen arbiters, the sculptors of a purer world. With a single orchestrated gesture, the assembly raises their glasses, a silent vow sealed with the sipping of vintage wine. Yet behind each pair of eyes, there lies a turbulence, a hunger that cannot be sated by mere wealth or status. Among the masqueraders, a woman in a gown of midnight blue, her mask a lattice of stars, moves with a grace that belies her inner turmoil. She watches, her gaze piercing through the revelry, knowing the waltz for what it is, a dance of devils. Her eyes lock with the charlatan's, and for a moment the facade slips. Recognition sparks, a shared secret that could undo worlds. But the dance goes on, and the moment is swallowed by the masquerade. the music swells, a crescendo that speaks of both beauty and impending doom. As the clock strikes midnight, the ball reaches its zenith, and the music soars to a fever pitch. The night is alive with more than just music and mirth. It pulses with plans most foul, with the next chapter in the Shadow Guild's dark design. The charlatan's eyes roam the crowd, every nod and gesture a silent command. The guild moves as one, a serpent with many heads, each as deadly as the last. And as the guests depart, shrouded in the anonymity of night, the streets of London lie unaware of the silent war waged in their very midst. The masks may come off with the dawn, but the faces beneath them remain hidden, obscured by wealth and a feigned civility. And as the city wakes, the echo of the night's pledge lingers, a portent of the blood yet to be spilled by the hands of the charlatan and his unholy congregation. The ambiance shifts subtly, the merriment tinged with an underlying current of suspense. Within the sea of false faces and false pretenses, one mask does not belong to the guild. A lone wolf walks among the sheep, his guise as impeccable as the company he infiltrates. This is no ordinary guest. This is Inspector Aberlane, cloaked in the anonymity the night affords. His eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scan the sea of deception. Every tilt of the head, every whisper he passes, is a potential clue, a piece of a puzzle only he perceives. The weight of his duty to unmask these monsters clad in human flesh presses upon him as he moves through the ball with a predator's grace. The inspector, in his feigned identity, exchanges courtesies, nods, and small talk that are anything but. He listens, oh how he listens, to the coded language that dances in the air like the fine strands of a spider's web, delicate yet ensnaring. With each step, Aberlane draws closer to the heart of the guild, to the truth behind the charlatan's mask. His ears catch fragments of conversations, whispers of the next one, and the plan unfolds. His mind races, deciphering innuendos, translating the language of the wolves. Aberline gathering evidence. In this grand charade, Aberline must play his part to perfection. A misstep, a glance too long, a word out of place, and he would be swallowed by the night, another shadow lost to history. He sips his wine, the taste of it bitter with the tang of danger. Suddenly, the charlatan himself approaches, his smile a blade hidden in silk. "Enjoying the evening?" he inquires, his voice a melody that sings with the dark harmony of their secret hymn. The charlatan: "It is a night for celebration. Wouldn't you agree?" Aberlane, disguised: "Indeed, it is a night that will be remembered." The words are a dance, each participant aware of the stakes, the game they play with each other. Aberlane's heart is a drumbeat against his ribs, but his face remains a mask of composure. Eye to eye they stand, the hunter and the hunted, unaware of which role they truly occupy. The charlatan raises his glass once more, a silent toast to the game, to the night, to the masquerade that envelopes them both. As the charlatan melts back into the crowd, Aberlane's mind races with new clues, new threads to follow. For tonight, he has danced with the devil himself, and from the devil's lips, he has stolen whispers of the inferno that awaits the streets of London. The night wanes, and the inspector departs, his every sense alight with the thrill of the chase. For though the masquerade may hide their faces, it cannot hide their sins. And as dawn's light creeps upon the horizon, Aberlane knows the charlatan's time, and that of his shadow guild, is drawing nigh. The masquerade's final act gave way to the night's true performance, a chase, not just for justice, but for the truth itself. Underneath the cloak of darkness, Inspector Aberlin stalks his prey, a shadow among shadows in the labyrinthine heart of London. Through the misty tendrils of the early hours, the suspect weaves like a phantom, his knowledge of the alleys and byways as intimate as the secrets he keeps. The inspector is relentless, his determination as steadfast as the beat of the score that accompanies his pursuit. The suspect turns a corner sharply, his silhouette a fleeting wraith in the inspector's keen gaze. Aberlin's own steps are measured, mindful of the treacherous cobbles slick with the city's weeping fog. With each turn, the suspect checks over his shoulder, the gleam of fear in his eyes, betraying the calm he attempts to portray. He knows the stakes, feels the breath of the law at his neck, the specter of justice as unyielding as the man from whom there is little hope of escape. The chase is not merely a physical endeavor, but a mental duel. Aberlin predicts, anticipates, his mind constructing and deconstructing the avenues of escape before him. His quarry slips through a barely visible gap between buildings, but the inspector is undeterred. He has run this chase 1,000 times in his head, and each potential path, each dead end, is mapped in his relentless mind. There is a sudden clatter, a discarded can kicked in haste, the echo a gunshot in the stillness, a beacon to the hunter of his quarry's panic. The suspect's breath comes in labored gasps, the sound a drumbeat to Aberlin's own steady breathing. He is the incarnation of London's grit, its grime, its unrelenting pursuit of those who would stain her streets with innocent blood. Now they are a duet of desperation and resolve, their symphony a crescendo as they near the inevitable, the confrontation that must come. But a man hunted, a man cornered, is a dangerous creature. The suspect stands, his back to the wall, the gleam of a blade in his hand, a sliver of moonlight captured in steel. Aberlin approaches, his own hand resting on the hilt of his service revolver, the air between them charged with the electricity of what is to come. Words are unnecessary. The communication between them is clear as the stars that bear silent witness above. This is the culmination of the night's labor, the harvest of seeds sown in darkness and watered with blood. The suspect lunges, desperation giving strength to his arm, but Aberlin is ready. He parries, the clash of metal, a discordant note in the otherwise harmonious night. The fight is brief, as intense as it is fleeting. Aberlin prevails, the suspect subdued beneath him, the whispered secrets of the night ready to spill forth from captured lips. As the inspector hauls the man to his feet, the first light of dawn begins to caress the rooftops of London. A new day breaking, a new hope dawning. The night's play is over, the actors' masks removed, their roles laid bare under the scrutiny of day. Aberlin's chase through the alleys of London has ended, but the pursuit of the truth, of justice, has only just begun. The inspector's gaze is steel as he looks upon the suspect, the morning's light revealing the face of one thought to be merely a whisper, a ghost in the fog. Yet here he stands, flesh and blood, a man like any other, but a man with the weight of shadows in his eyes. And so, as London wakes, as the city stirs to the rhythm of the ordinary, a tale of the extraordinary unfolds in the hands of Inspector Aberlin, a tale of a night that will be etched in the annals of Whitechapel's dark history forever. With the suspect in chains, a silent procession begins, a march from the darkness of alleyways to the dim glow of the gas-lit police station. The streets, once a stage for a deadly game, are now merely pathways to penance. The suspect's silhouette, cast long by the early light, is a specter of guilt, his head bowed not in defeat, but perhaps in resignation to the fate that awaits. Inspector Aberline, his visage set in stone, is the embodiment of justice's relentless pursuit. The doors of the station close with a resounding thud, the finality of the sound a testament to the closure of the chase, but not the case. Inside, the suspect sits, a lone figure in the interrogation room, the shadows playing upon his features, which flicker between remorse and defiance. As the interrogation begins, the inspector's questions are like arrows seeking chinks in the armor of the suspect's story. The suspect, for all his attempts at obfuscation, finds himself ensnared in a web of his own contradictions. The inspector leans in, his gaze piercing the veil the suspect has woven around his tale. "Where were you on the nights of the murders?" he demands, his voice a blade cutting to the heart of the matter. But the suspect is not alone in his secrets. Shadows cling to the corners of the room, the specter of the Shadow Guild lingering in the unspoken, the hint of a greater mystery lurking in the gloom. The dance of predator and prey culminates here, beneath the flickering lamplight, where truths become as twisted as the cobbled lanes of Whitechapel. In the dim glow of the interrogation room, Inspector Aberline stands face to face with his quarry. The suspect, cloaked in the grimy fabrics of the East End, smirks, a jarring note in the grim symphony of justice. The inspector, a study in stoicism, poses a question simple in words, yet complex in its implications. Who commands the Shadow Guild? But the answer is a serpent, coiling back on itself, a riddle wrapped in the enigma of this city's darkest hearts. The suspect leans forward, his voice a sibilant whisper that carries the chill of the grave. "Look beyond the mist, Inspector," he hisses, "for our reach extends far deeper than the roots of London." Aberline's eyes narrow, a glint of the hunter's fire within. He understands the game of shadows and subterfuge all too well, a game where the pieces move hidden and the kings are faceless. The suspect's lips curve upwards, a crescent moon in a darkening sky. "The guild," he begins, "is not merely a gathering of men. It is an idea, and ideas," he continues, "are bulletproof. In the labyrinthine heart of the city, where secrets fester like wounds untended, the moment of revelation draws near." Inspector Frederick Aberline, a visage of righteous determination, stands in the dim light of a room that smells of old leather and fear. Across from him, bound by more than just the iron of handcuffs, sits a member of the so-called Shadow Guild. The inspector's voice is like the edge of a knife, cutting through the fog of lies and subterfuge. "Your games end tonight," he states with unwavering conviction. "Tell me why. Why the bloodshed?" The guild member, a shadow of London's affluent facade, looks up. His eyes are the dead eyes of a fish, but they hold the city's reflection within their depths. He speaks, his voice a whisper that seems to crawl along the room's aged walls. "We are but the surgeons of society," he begins, a statement as cold as the steel of a blade. "The diseased flesh must be removed, lest all succumb." Aberline leans in, his shadow merging with the darkness of the room. You take lives in the name of cleansing? He asks, the horror of the notion creeping into his usually impassive voice. The confession spills forth like the dark insides of an opened carcass. Not just lives, the guild member corrects with a macabre pride. We take back the city from the grip of chaos and depravity. The poorest of souls sacrificed for your vision of order? Aberline's question is rhetorical, the answer already a stain upon the city's history. And so it is laid bare, the guild's rationale twisted by the madness of high-minded ideals. They believe themselves arbiters in a grand design, cleansing the streets with the blood of the fallen. The inspector rises, his duty clear, his burden heavier. He carries not just the weight of the law, but the weight of truth, harsh, unyielding, and dark as the London night. With the guild members' confession secured, the pieces fall into place, a mosaic of misery and misguided morality that has painted the streets crimson. As Night Angel, your guide through these grim revelations, I leave you with this thought. The light of truth, however harsh, is the only beacon we have against the darkness of ignorance. And remember, in the depths of night, it's not only the stars that shine, but also the truth we uncover, no matter how bleak it may be. As the hands of the clock draw together to mark the midnight hour, so too does the net close upon the once untouchable Shadow Guild. Under the cold gaze of the moon, carriages meant for gala evenings become iron steeds of justice. The guild's members, adorned in finery now marred by the touch of constables' hands, are led away. The air, once thick with the anticipation of the night's hunt, now heaves with the exhale of justice. Inspector Aberline, a sentinel amidst the turmoil, watches as the guild, a serpent of many heads, is dismembered. In parlors and public houses, the word spreads like the very fog that once concealed the guild's deeds. Arrests made, the guild undone. Voices lift in cautious jubilation, for while the night's shadow recedes, the scars remain. It unfurls the sordid tapestry of the guild's true purpose. Not a cultish doctrine, but a grim stratagem of political machination. Each life taken was a move in a morbid game of chess, the board hidden beneath the city's cobblestones. Beware the wolves in shepherd's guise, for they lead the flock not to pasture, but to slaughter. As dawn approaches, the city holds its breath. The guild's collapse brings a tumultuous peace, fragile as the silence after a storm. The streets of Whitechapel, those veins of London that ran red, now pulse with a guarded hope. And so, with the unmasking of the guild's final secrets, we draw the veil upon our nocturnal narrative. They who wielded fear as a scepter have fallen, their reign concluded by the unwavering hand of justice. I am the Night Angel, and this has been a journey into the heart of darkness, now dispelled by the light of truth. May your dreams be untroubled, and your awakening gentle, for the nightmare of the Shadow Guild is no more. Rest now, London. The dawn is kind, and in its light we find reprieve. As the guild's members are paraded before the courts, the facade of nobility crumbles, revealing the grimace of corruption beneath. The murders, once thought to be the workings of a solitary madman, are unmasked as tools of distraction, a sideshow in a grand political circus. The Night Angel, your guide through the shadows, recounts how greed and lust for control were the true architects of terror. These conspirators, adorned with titles and wealth, sought to orchestrate the future of an empire from behind a veil of blood and fear. One by one, the pawns and knights of this diabolical game are brought to light. Testimonies unravel the intricate plot, a subterfuge aimed at usurping power. With each murder, a macabre move on the chessboard of London's streets. The city breathes a collective sigh, not of relief, but of a mourning awakening. For the victims were not just those claimed by the knife, but the very soul of the city, tarnished by the machinations of the elite. Yet, as the Shadow Guild's members face their reckoning, the veil of night lifts, revealing the unsightly scars of truth. The guild's end comes not with a battle cry, but with the scratch of quill on parchment, recording the verdicts of their fate. Their motive, obscured by layers of lies, now laid bare for all to see, a twisted bid to control the tides of power through chaos. A revelation that shakes the foundations of society, for the enemy was not at the gates, but within its walls. The darkness that once cloaked the city is pierced by the light of truth. The Shadow Guild is no more, their conspiracy exposed, their ambitions extinguished. In the aftermath, London stands, its scars a testament to its endurance. In the darkest of times, the truth shall be your lantern. May its light guide you through the night. True justice for the victims eludes the grasp of mere laws. It lives in the courage to remember and the strength to rebuild. May the memory of those lost to darkness be the light that guides us to a more just tomorrow. In the night, we find tales of horror, but also stories of hope. Our journey through the shadows of the night comes to a close. I extend a heartfelt thank you to all of you, our intrepid listeners, who dare to walk with us through tales of the macabre on Friday Night Frights, where the deepest chills are yet to be felt. Remember, it is the brightest lights that cast the most haunting shadows. Until next time, may you find peace in the light and respect in the darkness.